Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So it's that time of week again. It's our usual Saturday night live. So let's see who comes in to join us and say hello. Sean, how are you doing, mate? Thank you very much for coming in. Hope all's good with you. I'm well happy that you managed to get your allotment. I'm really happy for you, mate. Means that at least you're going to get this season. You're going to get a decent season this year, and I'm very happy with that. How are things going with you? How's have you been down to see the allotment yet? So I don't know if you guys are seeing a flashing. I'm noticing a flashing for some reason. Not quite sure why, but it's flashed a couple of times. So Nafisa Hussein wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Just give me a second. Let me grab my glasses. So let's see who else is here. Rahad Mia wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Thanks very much for coming in. As you're coming in, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like, that'd be good. So I wasn't here last week, and we were quite bad for a few days with COVID. But unlike last time around, it wasn't as bad this time around, which is quite a blessing. I haven't seen it yet, but we'll definitely sometime next week. Wicked. I hope it's not too much work for it. Ginger, I'm very good, thank you. How are you doing? We're on the mend. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but I've still got like a stuffy voice, stuffy nose and stuff. But it wasn't as bad this time around compared to what it was last time. Last time it was really bad when we got it the first time. But this time around, it was a couple of tough days. The cough was quite bad. What was happening with the cough was it was just stopping me from sleeping, and because I wasn't getting enough sleep, that was just making everything just feel a lot worse than it actually was. Ivan, how are you doing, mate? Thank you very much for coming in. Your chili plants are growing chilies. Fantastic. That's great to hear. Dean's lost the plot, coming in with his bit of bonjour, with his French greeting. How are you doing, mate? Thank you very much for coming in. When did you sow them? Ginger, it's an absolutely horrible virus. It really is. I mean, two of my really close friends in 2021. So two of my really close friends, one who was a year older than me and one was a couple of years older than me, they both died from it. So one of them was really fit. He's the type of guy who could, cycle from Leeds to London and back, and that's the sort of thing he'd do. He went down with it. But the other one, he had underlying health conditions, but really, it really is a horrible one. Mister, look at me, I got my it's not a competition. If it's a competition, I'm happy to lose it, mate. Yeah, I'm happy to sort of say, yeah, I don't want it once at all. So Bobby, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming in. I was in Yorkshire Trading earlier looking at the seed, very dear. Yorkshire Trading, which one? What's Yorkshire Trading? Unwins cost about £4 and about 5 cents. Stick to Premier Seeds. I mean, you can't beat Premier Seeds. There's Premier Seeds and CK Horticulture, and that's pretty much where I buy all my seeds from. There's a good choice, good service, and they give you loads and loads of seeds as well. How's the tomato plants growth coming on? I potted my first tomato plant up today into its final pot. It was probably about 1.5 foot long. So I use sort of 10-litre pots that sort of a foot deep, a foot wide, and what I did was I just stuck it into the bottom of that and just filled it with soil, and that's going to be sitting in the greenhouse, and that's sitting as an experiment. That's going to be out there, just see how we get on with that. If that survives, I think it's going to be cold for the next the nights are going to be cold over the next week, early April. If that survives those temperatures, then I'm going to be a little bit more confident in moving some of the other plants outside, because the house is absolutely chocker out, especially with my bottle gourds coming on. So let's see. Don't crop me now. I'm feeling a lot better. Thank you for asking. Still not 100%, but I am feeling a lot better. One of the sad things is that it just gives you that little, you constantly feel out of breath. So I can come up the stairs and I feel like I'm about to have a heart attack, because I don't know if it's because I'm that unfit, or so I'm sorry to hear about your friends. I'm a doctor, so I've seen some awful cases, but the young people who have done really badly are the most. Yeah, it's not. It can be really depressing, but and I can't imagine what you've been saying as well. Mimi Sue, hi from Florida, hi from Leeds. I was going to say hi from Sheffield then. I don't know why, but yeah, I nearly did it. When should I pluck my chilies? What do you mean pluck your chilies? What do you mean? Quirkus, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming in. So that's one that I learned last time you were on, the English oak. But yeah, Premier Seeds. Absolutely. If you haven't hit that like, we've got 16 people watching, 10 likes. If you haven't hit that like, please hit that like for me. One of my neighbor has got the virus now. Yeah, it's not nice. Ivan, hope I forget about the bottle. Oh yeah, I forgot about the bottle gold seeds I have. When's the sowing window? I normally sow from about mid-March till end of April. If you get towards the end of April, the season's going to be a little bit short for you. So you've got to take extra protection, especially around bagging up fruits, making sure that you've got them on a trellis and you bag them properly to try and get them to maturity. But they do need a longish growing season, so probably a couple of months more than a squash plant would. I'm a community physio, and some of the cases of COVID I've seen have been awful. Oh man. D, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming in. Thanks very much for the compliment. I appreciate that. And I'm glad you like it. I mean, that's what I do it for. As long as I get positive feedback from people and people telling me that they're benefiting from it, that's the thing that really, really gives me a buzz more than anything else. Because for all the YouTubers who are on here or who pop in, it takes a lot of work to put out a video, and when you get that feedback and say it's helped us, it just really does give us a lift. So thank you for that. Teresa, how are you doing? Glad you've made it, because this is going to be the last live stream for a few weeks as well. So we're going to take the month of Ramadan starts in about a week's time, and once that starts, I'm going to be taking a break from live streaming. And then we won't be live streaming until probably about May. So this is the last live stream for at least a month. So I'm glad you made it in. I've been planting my potatoes in tubs today. About 15 more to go. How many tubs have you planted today? Can't have been easy seeing people in their own home through the pandemic. Beds and doing forever. I'm gonna go. Have you managed to save some of the plants? Because I hope you have. I've started my coriander MFG style today. Oh, that's what I like to hear. Yes. I had loads of coriander in my silver greenhouse. I had absolutely loads of coriander. The chicken and the chicks moved in there, and they've destroyed everything. So cabbages, coriander, a few trays of onions. My peas have been completely demolished. quite all my early sowings, they've just completely finished them. So I'm behind as it is from where I normally am, and those chickens have just put me at least about 6 weeks behind. They've just completely finished all my early sowings. They've eaten everything. So I'm absolutely gutted about that. But let's see. We're starting to get more stuff sown. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go and buy some onion seed sets, and just so I can get some onions growing this year. Ever thought about taking the Naga Achar on Dragon's Den? Sean, maybe one day. It's not big enough. It's not there yet. The thing is, if I went on in front of an investor at the moment, they just eat you up. You need to be in a secure position with good numbers. The channel has to be solid. The viewership on the channel has to be solid, and I'm just not there yet. I've got a good subscriber count. I've got well, it's a decent subscriber count, but it's not strong enough to stand up to serious people like that. Can I ask a question? How different is flavoring the ingredients that you grow? And yeah, you can't major garden envy. How different is the flavor of the ingredients you grow? I'll put it this way, right? I was someone who never ate tomatoes, right? I completely hated tomatoes. They were really disgusting things. And since I started growing my own tomatoes, I'm picking tomatoes off, regardless of if they're little cherry ones or if they're the big plum types. I'm picking them off the plant and I'm just munching them while I'm in the garden. So I'm picking up big tomatoes, just biting into them like an apple. And that's something I'd never do with a shop tomato. So, and they're just packed, they're really packed full of sugar. Things like peas, we're picking fresh peas off the pods. The kids are, peeling them out of the pods, munching on them. Where I'm doing the same thing. We had a little last carrot harvest the other day, and all the kids, my neighbour's kids, some other kids off the street, they were all in, digging their hands in, pulling the carrots out. Everyone's just running off with their little carrot, running around the garden. Really, that's the thing that you don't buy. You just can't buy that. So who have I said hello to everyone? Good dog, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming in. Emma Barber, hope you're keeping well. What's the month of Ramadan? Sorry, I don't know. Sean, Ramadan is a month where Muslims fast from morning till sunset. So we don't eat, don't drink, all the way through the day, from morning, from the moment the sun rises to the moment the sun sets, every day for 30 days. It's a month of worship, generally. So it's a very sacred month. So for live streams, we'll be completely off because there's going to be special prayers in the evening, and it'll interfere with that. So I've got to put that first. I did about 25 tubs today, and I've gone a little bit mad, but wanted to try a couple of new varieties. 25 tubs, that's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Do you grow in the ground as well, or just completely in tubs? Because that's awesome. I think I've got about 15 tubs that I can grow potatoes in, and I've done about 8 so far. I haven't done them all yet. Chickens love green veg and herbs like we do. They completely destroy everything. Henrik, how are you doing? Congratulations on getting your Naga seeds. That's awesome. Good dog, how are you doing? A friend of mine had COVID symptoms, then developed Bell's palsy. Nasty business. Where am I going? I'm growing some of the Peter Glazebrook giant onions. Oh yeah, oh that's amazing. See, Dean's Dean. I think Dean tries growing some of those as well. He's met Peter Glazebrook a few times. My dog got into a patch and ran over my onion. Oh no! Oh, do you know what? I went into the garden yesterday to pick some spinach and or some chard, and there was a really nice bunch of chard. Went over to it, and a fox had done a pool right across, not in the garden bed, but on top of the chard. So there was this big log waiting on top of the chard, waiting for me. And I thought, oh man, that's just disgusting. I'm not touching that. So once I move that log, those leaves are going to the chickens. But yeah, it's just like one of the first harvests of the year, and a fox had done that to it. It's not one of those nice things. Someone I know who was a darts drink company, and he went on to Dragon's Den last year. How did he get on? Can anyone recommend a sauce for naga and other chilies? Do you mean the seeds? Okay, seeds. Sea Springs. Do you know that there's a company called Sea Springs? They're the ones that developed the Dorset Naga. They're quite good for seeds. I normally I save a lot of seeds myself. Um, Premier Seeds is also quite good for seeds. They've got a nice variety. Not always the best nagas, but they've got quite a nice variety of chilies. So crazy! I'm growing peas, tomatoes, and chilies this year. Potatoes in buckets, looking for, oh wicked, Nick. That's absolutely fantastic. Um, so I'm looking forward to seeing how your container garden goes, Sean. Yeah, so what I've done with the container garden so far is I've done another couple of those black buckets like I did in the video. One is completely full of I've got pak choy in it. I've got some soy in there. I've sowed some broad beans in the back and some peas as well in there. So I've got a nice mix of everything in there. And the broad beans haven't taken off yet, so they've been in a couple of weeks. But let's see. Let's see. Once I get it up, and I start building a nice trellis and a little bit of a seating area, because I want to turn it into something that is a proper garden that someone could, reasonably do in their work garden. Tasmin Ali, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Oh, there's my little girl. So that's my niece, everyone. Perfect time to join where the fox has done a poo. Hope everything's good with you, Tasmin. I'm happy you came in. Sarah, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming in. Anyone else start beetroot in trays? Early on, I do. So I did some beetroot starts probably in about February, and they're about that sort of size. So they're ready to be planted out actually. But from now, I'd go direct in the ground with beetroot. I wouldn't bother starting them inside. It is the temperature's warm enough for them outside. So unless you really need unless you really need unless you haven't got you're not ready to plant them outside, then I'd start them inside. Otherwise, if you've got the space outside and everything's okay, then I'd just go straight outside with them. We're completely in tubs now for the spuds. The main reason is the fact that we don't have much true frost-free storage, and have found they stand well in the tubs. Good harvest too. Okay. See, our potatoes don't last that long. Do you know, once we get fresh potatoes, I'm just chipping them. Do you know, I just want chips all the time once we get fresh potatoes. There's nothing like chips made from fresh potatoes. They're absolutely gorgeous, aren't they? Absolutely delicious. Guys, if you wouldn't mind hitting that like for me as well. We've got 35 likes, 35 people, 18 likes. Let's get that like count up. Finding your post incredibly useful. Next door neighbor has given me a big bag of horse manure. Do I add it to beds now or hang on until autumn? See, that is that horse manure quite fresh, or is it quite well rotted? That's the first thing to think about. Now, if it's well rotted, then adding it to your beds is perfectly fine at any time without much of a worry. If it's fresh horse manure, then the thing that you've got to be careful of is that's going to contain an awful amount of nitrogen, and it can potentially burn your plants. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to add it to the soil and end up burning the roots of your plants. So the way to add what I'd do with it then is there's a couple of things that you could do with it. Is one is to take a handful, stick it in a bucket of water, and use it like a liquid feed. Or the other thing that you could do with it is potentially take a handful rather than adding loads to one area. Just add a patch to to the very bottom of a planting hole, then put some compost on top, and then plant your plant into the top of it. And then so by the time your roots of the plant get down to where the manure is, it's all broken down and got into the soil. So there are a couple of ways that I'd use it. The issue with this is the compost. Using nearly a ton of our homemade compost today. See, this year I'm really struggling on getting wood chips, so I've got to start taking measures. I've got to get some trees planted that I can use to make my own mulch and make my own wood chips, because if the tree surgeons are going to keep playing funny beggars like this and not to turn up with anything, I'm going to really struggle. He didn't get an investment yet. Sigma 6. Okay. Ian Matthews from across the Pennines. How are you doing, sir? Hope you're keeping well. Who else is coming in? Let's see. How are your trees doing? The trees have come into leaf now. So the plum tree's in leaf. The cherry tree's fully in leaf. The peach is fully in leaf. The apple and the pear, they'll start leaving. They'll start putting the leaves out soon. I need to give the tops. A clip. I'm 18, man. I've sown some. I know you're 18, but you're always going to be little babies to me. Yeah, even when you're 50, you'll still be a little baby. Because I'll still be older than you, won't I? I've sown plenty of aubergines on my windowsill before. It's too late. I grow them in the ground on my allotment outside though. See how I get on. See, I find aubergines do okay in pots. They do brilliant in the greenhouse, but they do okay in pots. In the ground, I've really struggled with them before. Tried to grow carrots seeds in the last 4 weeks twice and still nothing. What am I doing wrong? Northwest Florida, zone 8B. So Maria, the thing about carrot seeds is they want darkness and they want moisture. So if you sow your carrot seeds, make sure that the soil's nice and fine, nice and fluffy for them, nice and easy to get for their roots to penetrate down in. So what I do is I grow them in tubs and containers and boxes that are at least 1.5 foot deep. And so a good, probably about a 50% mixture of sand with compost. That's the sort of ratio. Sow the carrots in, give them a good water, and then cover them with a piece of cardboard. And after about sort of 10 days, you'll see the carrot seeds start popping up. So leave them covered with the cardboard so they get that darkness and they get that moisture. And the soil stays moist, it doesn't dry out. As soon as you see any sign of carrots popping through the soil, take that cardboard off, and then they should establish themselves fine. Adam, how are you doing? Got the tenancy to my first allotment this week. Much to do. Oh, Adam, fantastic. Enjoy the journey. That's the main thing. Enjoy the journey. Don't try and do everything in one go, but enjoy it. Angie, Blue Self-Reliance, and My Northern Garden. Everyone's coming in. Thanks very much for coming in. I hope you're all well. But it's really busy time at the moment. So I started picking out my tomatoes today. Very quickly ran out of pots, including my saved food containers. I'm gonna have to do Wilco run in the morning, in the near future. Sorry. See, we save pot noodle pots all year. So I probably have a pot noodle once a week as part of my pack lunch club. So as part of my lunch for work, and we got loads of pot noodle pots, and especially the 3 kids. Yeah, The Pac-Man. Oh, is that what it is? Okay. So I like the pot noodle pots. Or do you know, like fizzy pop bottles? So a 2 litre fizzy pop bottle. If you cut that in half, you can get a nice deep pot. You don't need it really wide, but you can get a nice deep pot. So you can get the tomato plant planted at the bottom, and then keep filling it with soil, and then you've got a massive root ball when you're ready to plant out. Oh, is that? There's your Star Wars figure. Saturday night spent cutting toilet roll tubs into plant pots. That's rock and roll, isn't it? That's proper living. That's living it large. That. I found a near unlimited source of rabbit bedding manure at local rescue centre. Oh, yeah, fantastic! Your car's gonna smell lovely. So pyrialids in horse manure is still a thing. I mean, you still get them in horse manure, in straw bedding. So it's still a thing. But the good thing about pyrialids is they're very short-lived. I mean, I got hit with it a couple of years ago, and it killed off a lot of my bean plants. It damaged my potato plants as well. But one of the best ways of getting rid of it is through the soil activity. Does actually break it down. So the activity of digging. So we're no dig, but after sort of 8 years, I had to give that bed a dig, and I dug that bed over last year. We had no problems with that bed, and you know, any sort of residue or anything like that in the bed. So they are a problem, but they are short-lived. So with horse manure, I'd compost it separately, and I'd compost it with soil rather than just the normal composting process. I'd sort of build like a soil mound with it and let it compost down in that. So it's still cold here, and we did have more rain this year. It's still cold, Henrik. You're in Egypt and you're telling me it's cold. Went to B&Q today. Wood chips, £10.50 a bag. That's mental. That's £10.50. That's absolutely mental. Mr. E mushrooms.
We had a barbecue.
We did have a barbecue. Yeah. So by the way, if anyone's on TikTok, you had marshmallows.
Yeah.
See, I was going to tell you about my TikTok, but this one's telling me about her marshmallows. Where's my marshmallows?
We ate them all.
You ate them all. I'd recommend planting hazel, willow then as the coppice. Do you know what? They were exactly the plants that are on my mind. So yeah, I was going to say my thing about TikTok, but I'm not happy about the marshmallows. They're my marshmallows. But yeah, hazel and willow are exactly the plants that are on my mind, because the hazel, I want some bean poles and stuff. I've got bamboo, but yeah. So hazel's good. Do you know one at the bottom as well? There's a hedge that's got a lot of what's the plant called? It's the big green leaves. You know, the evergreen big green leaves. What's it called? Oh, it's gone out of my mind now. It's gonna pop in. It'll come in. But whatever it is, that's been really good for me. Angie P, thank you very much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Thank you very much for that. Don't want people. So Mike Sutton is saying, don't want people like you in our country. Don't want people like me in whose country? This is my country, pal. I own it. There you go. Big love.
What are you talking about?
It's just I don't know. Let's see. Let's see what happens. Did you say you wanted to grow rice, Sean? Okay, I do want to grow rice. Yeah. Yeah, I do want to grow rice. I've got some rice seeds that that's been sent down to me from Scotland. So we'll get those sown. But yeah, I do want to grow some rice. So laurel, that's the one. So one, they've got a big, massive laurel, and they've got a spotted laurel as well. So I do like the laurel because they grow really fast. So what I do is I take loads of cut, trimmings from that my side of the fence, and that gives me we've got a good couple of wheelbarrow loads of wood chips and mulch from that. And the good thing is because the leaves are a little bit toxic, they let off a toxic gas. If in in enclosed spaces, if you crush the leaves up, you can actually use that as an insecticide. So if any of the admins are in, just keep that mic sorting out. Let's see what kind of joker this guy thinks he is. Rice would be interesting to grow. How does it grow? Rice is a grass, so it'll grow similar to the way wheat and barley will grow, but it just needs higher temperatures. Steve's grown them. What's his channel called? His channel coming to my mind. What's his channel called? I can't believe I've forgotten his channel name. Sean, I'll send you his channel, but he's grown loads of rice over there in Scotland. So I'll message you his channel. So I've got 3 bits of ginger growing well on the windowsill, but they've died. Got a bit of ginger for a quid the other day, so I'll probably have more luck. Ben, with it, when did you plant them, and when did they die? Are they this year's plantings that have died, or are the ones that you've overwintered? So Cara's tidbits, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming in. Sarah's reporting wicked, nice one. And CW, thanks very much for that super chat as well. Thanks very much for that, really appreciate it. Jane, how are you doing? Glad you came in. Nurse Mike Sutton needs his pills. Oh, quality. Let's see. Yeah, be careful clipping or burning laurel. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So it's good. It's good if you because I shred it, so you get plenty of shredding. The leaves get crushed up and it gives off that gas. I do like the smell of laurel. When you crush up the leaves and you crush up and the sap smell. I'll be honest with you. I do like that smell. It does smell quite nice actually. But I always lay the leaves into my greenhouse, and it's really good for helping control some of the pests in there. So that's one of the things that's good there. So are there no admins in tonight? There's so many people have got blue ticks, but I'll do it myself. Mike Sutton's left the building. Goodbye, mate. So there you go. Bye bye. Let's see. Can someone? Yeah, Bobby, I've got him. Probably had them on the boiler since January. Broke off the stems with the roots. Oh, that's a shame. Ben, that's the thing. Do you know where you're saying you've overwatered them? They don't mind. They don't mind being wet and warm. They don't mind being warm and dry, but they hate being, wet and cold. Any sort of damp, wet and cold will really get to them. So the ones that we've overwintered, the way we overwinter them is we just leave them on a window, just won't water them all winter, and then in the springtime, once it starts warming up, then we'll slowly start giving them a little bit more water and just letting them come back up on their own. But all winter, we just don't water them at all. Is your chicken house up and running now, Jane? It is up and running. The chickens have moved in. It's been ready for a couple of months now. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Jamal, are you growing Karela this year? Yeah, definitely. Then have I started my Karela yet? If I haven't, that's going to be one that I'm going to be starting. Well, probably after I get off this live stream. Thanks for reminding me. So for us, assalamu alaikum. Spent the day at Capel Manor Gardens. You'd never know you're in London, surrounded by beautiful greenery. Types, all that. Oh, I've never heard of those gardens before, but that sounds nice. That sounds proper nice. Maria's reported him as well. Wicked. Where's all the blue ticks? There's so many people who've got blue ticks, and everyone's missing tonight. The reason I ask is I'm eating rice right now. So everyone's reporting wicked. Where am I? Not sure. So it's been a really lovely day today, hasn't it? We've been barbecuing just before we came in. So I left everyone outside barbecuing. Any tips on growing summer squash? I'm a bit north of you in Scotland. Just got the seeds in the post today. So with summer squash, there's a couple of ways of getting your seeds germinated. A video will be out tomorrow on how I germinate gourd seeds. Excuse me. So how I germinate gourd seeds, you can just sort of use a plastic takeaway tub, a bit of damp tissue, and stick it on either your radiator, propagator, somewhere warm, and just let them root in there, and then pot them up once you've got them there. Or just pot them up individually into it, put directly into the soil, just plant one seed into each soil, just leave them to grow. I mean, patty pan are really quite easy. So you'd probably be a couple of weeks behind me in terms of weather. So what I'd do is I'd start them now, get them growing, and then sort of late April, early May is when I'd start thinking about getting them outside or moving to a greenhouse, an unheated greenhouse, and then thinking about getting them outside around that sort of time. But they are real. I mean, they're like courgettes, to be honest with you. They're not hard work at all. But just give them the space and they'll do fine. Mum is okay. Still same problems. Still the same problems that I've got that I need to. I'd just like her back actually. Tony Cunningham, what do you think about bird flu? Bird flu? What do you mean? What do I think about it? I mean, we're still on chicken lockdown, aren't we? But my chickens are okay because we've got the caged run. We've got a net over the run as well, and that's enough for the chickens to be locked. That's enough to classify as a confined area. What I used to do was when we had chicken lockdowns and they needed to be outside and have a bit more space, is I'd have some temporary netting that I could make a little pen in different parts of the garden and just move the chickens into there, and then as long as it's sealed on all sides, you're really satisfying whatever restrictions are out there. It's just a little workaround. I've checked the DEFRA rules. It looks fine to do that. So that's what I used to do to get them out and working on my different beds as well, because to be honest with you, I need them working on my beds. So where'd you get your coriander seeds from, please? I tried from Asian shops and they're really good last year. They were really good last year. It was a bad year. I just use the ones from the Asian shops. So East End is a variety I use. But I'm not sponsored by them. Sherry's Garden Veg. I hope you're good. Thanks for popping in and saying hello.
How long have you been on?
How long have I been on? 39 minutes.
40 minutes.
Leslie, How are you doing? Thanks very much for coming in, and thanks for that little boost. I appreciate that. Hope everything's good with you and the kids. My poor patty pans all rotted before I could eat them a few years ago. We'll have to try them again sometime. I mean, there was one patty pan that I grew last year, right?
Patty pan?
Yeah, and honestly, it looked absolutely gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. I went to harvest it, and it just felt so light. So I clipped it off, and then there was two slugs, inside it. They'd eaten everything inside and just left the skin looking like, looking absolutely beautiful. But they'd eaten everything from the, gotten around the back and eaten everything from inside.
We saw Orion constellation and the Big Dipper.
You saw the Big Dipper.
And the Orion.
Well, get your telescope out and go and have a look. See if you can see what you can see.
My telescope is blurry.
Use your binoculars then.
These don't work, so the windows goes all blurry as well.
Okay. Nothing works apparently. I spent my monthly universal credit on a mushroom compost. See, Milwana, do you know what you're saying there, right? I'm with you on growing your food. I'm with you on. I'm glad you got a load of compost in one go, because that would be a lot cheaper than getting it in any other way. Did you see my video on container gardening the other day? So it was either my last video or the video before that. Close that door, please.
Yeah.
I did on container gardening. Now, the reason that I do those kind of videos is because compost is expensive for what it is, and not so long ago, I couldn't afford to buy compost. I couldn't afford to buy seeds. So we used to grow using whatever rubbish we had to hand. And so there's a few videos that I've done on sort of growing without compost, or budgeting on the compost that you've actually got. So kids sound like they're about to kill each other outside my room. Can't be. Okay. Chicken lockdown. Not heard of that before. So Ginger, we've had chicken lockdown a few times. So whenever there's a bird flu outbreak, there's definite warnings to say that chickens can't free range, so they've got to be kept confined in their pens. Your chilies are growing well. I've repotted my chili seeds, and they had a nice roots, but way behind your summer weather during the day, and here the plants are loving it. See, it's summer weather during the day, but the night time is still really cold. Bird flu hit a lot of the swans in Stratford and Avon. Was hot. Oh, no way. I'll have a look and see what I can see what I can see in the news about that. I've never had any luck with coriander. It tends to go to seed on me, so I think it needs a little more attention than I want to give it. So coriander is something that doesn't like too much heat, to be actually. So if you can grow it in a shadier place, or create some sort of microclimate that'll be a little bit cooler than everywhere else, you can get it to grow quite well. And one of the things that I do is I harvest my coriander and I cut it back, and I normally get a couple of harvests like that. I hope you're paying them well to improve your beds. Where have we gone? So Baltic Homesteaders, how are you doing, mate? Thank you very much for coming in. I hope you're keeping well. So I saved my own coriander seeds after planting some supermarket coriander and letting it go to seed. There you go. That's the best way. That's absolutely the best way to do it. Milwana, I'm not sure what you're saying sorry for, but you're good. No, not the slugs. Yeah, the slugs got those two little patty fans, but yeah. I'm expecting major pigeon issues with in my new home. There are loads of them, and there should be suburban garden expecting leaves to be well piped up. Are you talking about the pigeon, the wood pigeons? Well, one of the reasons that there's so many wood pigeons about now is they used to be considered quite a delicacy, and a lot of people would actually eat them, but people don't eat them anymore. So that there's I see so many more wood pigeons. I mean, obviously it's good for the environment in one sense, but it's quite damaging for some of the crops that we're growing. But one of the things that I do with things like, do you know, I grow my squash on trellises, right? So I grow my beans across like a permanent fixed trellis, and I grow my bottle gourds over trellises. So anything that pigeons and birds are going to eat, I grow underneath the trellis, and I can normally get them off to a good. I can get them established quite well by the time it's sort of time to plant out the gourds and stuff. So they're quite big and strong before they get starting to get shaded out. So we can normally do quite well with that sort of system where because they're under some sort of arch type thing. The birds won't go under because they're scared to go under that sort of thing. Rock and roll rambling. Coriander is something I struggled to grow. Have you seen my video on coriander? I did a really good video on coriander. Do check that out. By the way, this is my second year on desert soil, and it's way better now. Got lots of tomatoes. Henrik, very happy. Do you know, every time I hear your soil improving, I'm well happy with that. So Norfolk Youth, okay, any advice would be cool. So we're gonna go up to Ripon. Ripon. Nicholas, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming, and best of luck for the growing season ahead. Absolutely, thank you very much for that, and everyone else as well. I'm wishing everyone a very good season this year. We're having some really nice sunny days at the moment, but don't be deceived by that, because a couple of years ago, I was wearing a t-shirt towards end of February, early March. I was in the garden with t-shirts on, and then I had to wear jumpers in June. So sometimes the early they sometimes call it full spring. So don't let that deceive you in any way. I think it was about, I don't know what the temperature was today, but it was hot. It was warm enough for me to be walking about in shorts and t-shirts. So yeah. They're not shorts. They're 3/4. Okay, I'm gonna get corrected on that. Yeah.
So what's the what is Ripon or whatever it's called?
Ripon's a little town about 20 miles north of us.
What does it look like?
You'll see when you go. Is it too late to start peppers and chilies? No, it's not too late. It's not too late. If you're quick, you should be able to get them started. They should germinate a lot easier now, but you'll just have to give them some protection towards the end of the season, just to make sure that they ripen and you get a decent harvest. So the chickens, I hope they're being paid well for doing the digging. They get fed well. We had a nice big food delivery for them yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah. About 100 buckets.
About 100 buckets. The first time I ever grew coriander, I sowed random seeds in garden soil with no preparation. It did brilliantly. Never be able to recreate it. This is what my mum used to. Mum keeps saying that. You know that what they'd do is they'd grow coriander in a patch and just let it go to seed, and then the next year it also you'd never have to do anything. It'd just grow back every year, and it'd always do well.
Like the apple trees.
Not like that, yeah, like the apple trees, but the coriander don't naturally grow back every year. And that's one thing that I've never been able to do. But my mum says that this is the way they used to grow coriander in Bangladesh. They used to grow it in the allotments in Sheffield, and I've just never been able to do that.
What?
What I just said. I started my chilies in July last year. Still got some of it. Fantastic. Some of my chilies that I overwintered, they're looking like they're about to start flowering. 2 weeks I started doing something new, making and applying lactic acid bacteria from Korean natural farming. It's supposed to kill off all bad bacteria in soil and increase good bacteria. See, lactic acid's good, but don't completely sterilize your garden. You want a healthy balance of bad bacteria, good bacteria. You want a balance in your garden. You don't want to push one side. You don't want to dominate with one, and you don't want to dominate with the anaerobic stuff either. I mean, one of the easier way. I like the Korean natural farming, and I like the Jadam sort of stuff, but just watch. Some of it is just, for me, I think for an everyday person, a lot of it is unnecessary tampering. You can kill a lot of anaerobic type of bacteria just by allowing some air into your soil. So yeah, very few people have actually got that sort of thing. And when you're talking about this lactic side of thing, the lactic, the lactobacillus, you're often going to be forgetting the fungal needs of your soil as well. So that's the thing to think about, especially if you're growing things like chilies and short-lived perennials. You want fungal soil. A question about the Malabar spinach: is it hardy enough to grow outside? Okay. I read it's terrible cedar. Am I going to regret it? Do you mean a terrible cedar? Do you mean a terrible spreader, or something that's just going to self-seed and come back? I've never found that. I find it quite difficult to grow outside, actually. I grow it in my greenhouse, and it does okay in my greenhouse, but I wouldn't say it's one of those plants that romps away either. I've never had a huge plants like, I've seen some people have had Malabar spinach that looks like, ivy plants climbing up everywhere. Mine get to probably about 3-4 foot high maximum, and they don't look like they're going to be able to take over. But at the same time, I've never been able to grow it outside. I'm happy for anyone to eat more wood pigeons. There's a couple of big fat ones that always the nest in a tree close by, and every year they have 2 sets of babies every year, and they sort of raise them in my garden. And there's a fox like that as well. There's a fox that every spring she'll come and turn up in my garden with 2 cubs, and they'll just sunbathe in the middle of my garden. My first lot of chili seeds fail, so starting again. Always a bit colder and later down here in the Welsh hills. Do you use heated propagators or anything like that? But that'll just make you starting them off a little bit easier. KSQ Gardening, walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you very much for coming in. Good idea with the trellises. I definitely need to use lots of vertical. But see, that one of the things, I've got loads of wood that I skip dived last year, and I want to trellis all my paths. So everywhere I've got a pathway, I want to trellis it, and just put an arch over the top, so I can grow on the edge of a bed and just grow over the top of where I'm walking. And it also give me more hiding places to hide from my wife and kids. I'd eat the wood pigeon eating the trees and not the pigeons on it. bad cough there. Yeah, so Nicola, I'm just recovering from COVID. So it's much better than it was. But hopefully it'll go soon. My red Malabar lived well in the greenhouse, but the one outside didn't do as well. Leaves were less succulent and a bit more tough. See, I'm not. Do you know? This is the other thing, right? My mum likes Malabar spinach. My wife likes Malabar spinach, and I'll be honest with you. I'm going to say something a little bit gross, but I think it tastes like snot. But my mum and my wife like it, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. I've been I've been delayed this year, so only sold my peppers and aubergines last week. Half of them are fantastic. Fresh, yeah. Fresh seeds makes a massive difference. So Toss Stones, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming in. Long time. It's been a while. I hope everything's good with you. Growing nitrogen fixes, is this enough to feed the soil? Mainly trees in the garden. See, mulch always. You know, if you're growing the nitrogen fixes, but get some mulch as well on the soil. And if you've got trees, remember, trees grow on dead trees. So if you've got any sort of woody material that you can mulch with, that'll do really good. My chili plants are still very thin. Can you tell me what to do? Pinch them out. If they're very thin and they're not thickening up, they'll start putting on their growth in a couple of. At the moment, they're going to be developing their roots. In about a month's time, they're going to start putting on their real growth, and then sort of May time, they'll really romp away. But don't worry about them getting thin at the moment. If they're getting thin and leggy, pinch them out. It'll just encourage them to bush out a little bit. My chili planters did that one. I love the tip you gave about the soaking pepper seeds in tea to break them down. You can use it for any. So Jane, yeah, what my mum used to say, or what my mum says, is any seeds that are old, or anything that's a hard seed, or anything that's a little bit tough to germinate, we just soak that in tea. Stuff that's really easy to germinate, things like tomatoes, we don't bother with that. But gourd seeds, they get soaked in. Anything, pumpkin seeds, they get soaked as well. So anything that's a little bit hard to germinate or has a tough coating, they're really it's really good for that. I keep muttering about fool spring. A lot of bugs in my garden that bite anyone else have this problem. Angie, there's this little black and white bug, right? I don't know what it's called. I've been looking for pictures of it and trying to identify the guy. But every time it bites me, right, it's a little black and white. It's not a beetle, and it's not a fly, and it's definitely not a horsefly either. But it's a little black and white thing. It looks like it's got jaws. It bites into me, and straight after it bites into me, I end up with a blister. So I don't know what this guy's called, but he's causing me some damage whenever he gets hold of me outside. Escobar, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How much do you do in the garden during fasting? I'm in my first year, almost ready to grow on the blessed month of Ramadan next week. Oh yeah. See, my gardening routine is Fridays, sort of Friday afternoons, Saturday afternoons, and Sunday. They're the only days I get in the garden. During the week, I don't get time in the garden. So I don't really change my routine from that. Tony, how are you doing, mate? Thank you very much for coming in. Glad you made it. Hope everything's good with you. Ismail Karoli, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. See, so for us, it was painful. Do you know, when I was coughing last week, right? You'd have this sort of coughing fit, and then it hurt in the creases of your shoulders, and then your arms would go numb. That's how much it was. That's when it was. When it was doing that, that's when I knew it was a real cough. At the moment, I'm not that bothered. It should be okay. We should, yeah, it should be all right. I've got some great looking hot lemon chili plants from Lidl last week. I was surprised how good they were. I think, oh, beautiful. I find I'm able to do more gardening during Ramadan when I'm fasting. And it's always good to be active while you're fasting as well, because it just gets your body working a bit. I think I find it quite useful to do that. Oh, sorry for not a problem. I think Leslie caught it, but yeah, just one of the things about languages is it's good because the kids pop in at any time, so we just watch that. But yeah, you're good, mate. I have some chili seeds you can have if you want them. I'm done with chilies for this season. I'm not sowing anymore. I've got too many, but I never say no to seeds. That's the other thing as well. Excuse me. How do you know what snot tastes like? Oh no, there we go. Some people. Drops Family Gardening. How are you doing, mate? Thank you very much for coming in. Oh, that's brilliant. Everyone, Cara, that's exactly what I said. Doesn't everyone know what snot tastes like? I thought they did. I didn't think that needed an explanation. It's been mental. I had a big project on which you'll see next Friday in the video. Fantastic. Looking forward to that and finding out what's going on. Where am I? Let's see. So hurt like hell when I had COVID for about 3 days. It's not pleasant, is it? It's not pleasant at all. Coastal Gardens, how are you doing? Thank you very much for coming in. Mulch is a must, whatever you want to grow. There you go, Henrik said it. Right, guys, we've passed the hour mark. So this is going to be the last live for the next month. I'm still from the last live I did a couple of weeks ago when I started talking about thinking about buying a farm together. I haven't managed to finish off writing out my proposal of what I want to do and sort of a questionnaire for people who want to get involved. What I'll do is over the next week or two, let me just get fighting fit again and get some time. I'll get that written up. We'll get it up on the website. We'll get some information sheets from people to fill in, whoever wants to get interested in that. And and then we'll take it from there. But happy Ramadan. That's the perfect etiquette, actually. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. Yeah, so that's absolutely right. But so I'll get an update on the live on the website about that, and then we'll take it from there. But I'll still the regular videos will still be coming out, so we'll still have a video every Sunday, and so you'll get that. It's just I won't be live. It's just not going to fit in with everything. So I'm going to leave it there for this one. I wish everyone who's fasting have a blessed month of Ramadan, and everyone who's not yeah, have a good month, and I'll see you back. But on that note, I'm going to leave it there for this one. I'll see you on the next one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.